In this lesson, we'll learn how to create some puddles on the ground around our runner. Okay, so at this point, we're kind of, again, working our way down, kind of finishing this scene out. And if there's all this water that's shedding off of our runner's watery legs as she's running, then there's probably quite a bit of it falling on the ground here. So let's go ahead and jump over here to our layers panel and check out that I've got a puddles group here. And I'm simply going to come in here with a nice brush. Let's go ahead and choose this one again. And I'm going to turn off my pressure sensitivity for the opacity. And we'll just sample the sky here for right now. So this is going to be a little difficult. Let me just rotate my screen a little bit so I can get a little better angle on the ground here. Because what I want to do is quickly paint in some puddle shapes. So I want to paint small ones. I want to paint big ones. I want to paint just a nice variety of puddles. So we'll just come in here, and I'm doing this really, really quickly. Let me go ahead and grab that same brush to erase with here. Of course, with no pressure setting there. So I'm doing this really pretty quickly. Let me come in and we'll put one right about there. So you can see I'm doing puddles here that are a variety of different shapes and sizes. Basically, all I'm concerned with is the silhouette of these puddles. Maybe some of them bleed out of the picture, sort of like that. Probably don't want one that's underneath the old footprint that we just created. But we really kind of want to think about how far this water would spray out if this runner was really hitting the ground fast. So let's come in and erase away a little bit of that one. Then we get starting to get a little close to our iStock watermark there. Just kind of steer clear of that so we can kind of continue to layer this liquid in. All right, let's take a look at that and see how we're doing. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to come in and do just a few more small ones over here, but I think for the most part we're just about where I'd like to be, because we're going to come in and use a layer style to create the illusion that these shapes that we just painted are actually water. So let's go ahead and jump over here to the layers panel and double click on this layer. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a bevel and emboss layer style here. And if we look over here, it's not really the best effect. That's not exactly what I was going for. So let's just come down and select that style, and let's come in and start configuring this. So I definitely want the size to be relatively small here. So we'll go ahead and shrink that down. I'm going to start at maybe like 1 pixel, something really, really small. And I may soften that up just a little bit. You can kind of see how that particular bevel and emboss effect has almost a corner to it there. So if we start to soften that up, it's going to begin to round that out just a little bit. Kind of basically spread that shadow up further into the bodies. So I'll go ahead and set that up to maybe 5 or 6 pixels or so. So we get something like that. And I tell you what, let's come down here to the shading portion of this, and I want to change the contour over to something maybe like that. That'll work for right now. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and hit OK on this. I'm going to jump over here in the layers panel, and I'm going to take the fill actually all the way down. It doesn't really matter what color you painted this with, but all I'm concerned about is the colors we're using here for the bevel and emboss. So let's go ahead, and we've got the angle. Well, we still haven't set the angle, so let me kind of move this dialog around. And I'm going to go ahead and position the light source here right about here. Kind of almost 12 noon, because it's right in the middle of all those puddles that we just drew. And you can see here how that's affecting the shadows on those. Pretty neat. So with that done, I want to come down here to the highlight, and actually we want to uncheck that, use global light. Haven't defined that, so we'll come over here and choose maybe one of these sky colors for the highlight. And I want to change this, instead of screen, which is, you know, it's giving us an okay effect. That kind of looks like water there, but I think that there would probably be stronger highlights on it. So maybe we could come in and use something like, let's go ahead and maybe try hard light. See what that looks like. I'm actually going to drop that back down. Looks like I bumped the size up a couple pixels. And let's go ahead and set the, let's see, we got the sky color. Maybe we could come up a little bit more with the opacity. Maybe 85 or 90 or so, right about in there. And we'll go ahead and set this over to multiply. And I'm going to go ahead and change the color of the shadows to something really dark here, but still in our image. Maybe something like that color right there. That brown. Might need to go a bit darker than that. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and hit OK on that and zoom in and kind of take a look at how we're doing. You know, I'm still not real happy with the transparency of these puddles, so let's see if we can't fix that here. Let's come back in here and maybe adjust the light source a bit. You can see here the more overhead we get with this, the more vibrant these specular highlights are getting here as well. We're also starting to lose those shadows, so I'm going to go ahead and take that back to black where it was at. And let's see if we can't sort of find a happy medium here. I'm also going to come in and apply a contour over here as well. Let's go ahead and choose that same one. And let's see. Just kind of playing with these settings until I'm fairly confident that my puddles are believable. So, you know, looking at these puddles, I may even come in at this point and decide that I want to make some of these bigger. So we can come in and do that at any time. All we need to do is come in and just paint right into this layer. Basically because this is just a layer style that's been applied. Nothing fancy. You know, once we've got this style applied, maybe we decide that some of these puddles are just too small. They're disappearing. So maybe we want to come in and just really bring them out a little bit more. Sort of like that. All right, those are starting to look really nice. So I tell you what, I'll continue to paint on these puddles a little bit. And for the most part, I think I've got my settings down here in terms of where I want that to be. Now, at this point, there's a couple things left that I still want to tackle. In the next lesson, I want to go ahead and just kind of give this a general comb over and look for areas where maybe we can make some final touch-ups up here on our paint over layer, just to make the image even more believable. So we'll get started doing that in the next lesson.